Islam, Islam, Islam. Greetings, greetings, greetings. Hotep, hotep, hotep. Assalamu alaikum, assalamu alaikum, assalamu alaikum. Alafia, alafia, alafia. Grand rising, grand rising, grand rising. Que pasa, que pasa, que pasa. How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? Power to the people, power to the people, power to the people. Hope everybody having a great Saturday. This is Moorish Thought, here to share knowledge, wisdom, and or understanding into the science of self. It's always about self, fam. Remember I told you I was going to read that piece for y'all that breaks down this system and how things work from a perspective, okay? It's a different perspective, but it's real thorough perspective, and it's very enlightening, okay? That's what I want to share with y'all. I want y'all to get this if you want it, so it's available, all right? Okay, here we go, fam. This is called General Civil Orders. This is written, if I'm not mistaken, by Anna Van Reeves, okay, which I learned a lot from, I learned a lot from being in that group and reading the material. It was very, very enlightening, and that's before I got into the present Moorish group that I'm in, which basically took me all the way to the top, okay? But I give credit where credit is due as far as material that's helped me see, okay, what's going on around me. It's very important to not to be in the dark. It's very important to not to be blind, deaf, or dumb, okay? And when we find ourselves experiencing these things, it's important to do something about it, because at some point of our day, we got some kind of time to invest in ourselves by gaining some degree of knowledge, because knowledge is power, and with knowledge, it shines light in your darkness, okay, or in our darkness. Let me begin. This is a piece from June 10th, 2014, issued to all members of the domestic police forces, U.S. Marshal Service, the Provost Marshals, members of the American Bar Association, and the American Armed Services. At the federal level, the American government has always been a separate foreign international maritime jurisdiction operator under contract to provide two services. One, protect the national trust asset, and two, perform governmental services for the several states, which in terms of international law are all recognized sovereign nations. Okay? The equity contract, known as the Constitution for the United States of America, makes it clear that the several states contracted to form a single governmental services agency known as the United States. Okay? The contract stimulates the assets to be held in trust by the federal government in the preamble and Bill of Rights, comprising the trust indenture portion of the contract, and also stimulates the 19 enumerated services to be performed, and exactly what powers, quote unquote, the states agreed to delegate to the United States, and how they would pay for these services. Okay, pay close attention. And this is only for a few. A lot of people are not going to be able to sit and listen to something that's so in depth. Okay, and the juice is about to come. there's distinctions between entities, and if you're not careful, if you're not paying attention, you're gonna miss it. And I'm explaining as much as I can, okay? And really, for the last 2-3 hours, I've been trying to relax. But my mind just keep going, and because so much I got to do, so much I need to get done. And I told y'all I wanted to demonstrate this to y'all, so it's what I want to do. It's just I'm realizing I can't give my all, which I wasn't planning on giving my all. My objective was to just read it and elaborate just briefly on some things, and then come back after I went into it and dissected more, okay, when I get time. But again, I mentioned it because I read it the other day, and I'm like, man, I got to share this with my family. You know what I'm saying? So since I spoke on it, I'm going to do the reading and elaborate, and then come back after I dissect it and go into some words that I need to look up. Okay? So, let me continue. Keep in mind that I read, when I mentioned the Constitution for the United States of America, focus on that. The Constitution for the United States of America. Okay? And this is the equity contract known as the Constitution for the United States of America. Makes it clear that the several states, okay, contracted to form a single governmental service agency known as the United States. Okay, so you got the Constitution for the United States, which makes up the several states who contracted upon a governmental service agency that they call the United States. Okay, so it's a group of people over here that's creating something over here. You know what I'm saying? Or right here. Okay. So keep that in mind. Have that picture in your mind. The contract stipulates the assets to be held in trust by the federal government in the preamble and the Bill of Rights, comprising the trust indenture portion of the contract, and also stipulates the 19 enumerated services to be performed, and exactly what powers the states agreed to delegate to the United States that they created, and how they would pay for these services. Okay, let's continue. What isn't so widely known or appreciated is that the governmental services company known as the United States that they created, the several states up under the Constitution for the United States of America, okay, was a privately owned and operated commercial company set up by Benjamin Franklin in 1754. Okay, according to this material. George Washington was actually the 11th president of this company, and only the first president to take office after the receipt of the Constitution contract. Okay, so understand, everything is contract. There ain't nothing you do that don't consist of contract, because when you sign your signature, that's a contract. Okay, you're agreeing to something. According to the 1824 Webster Dictionary, the word federal was a synonym for contract at the time the original Constitution was written. All constitutions are affirmations of debt. In this case, the debt the states assumed when they created the federal government and jointly agreed to pay for the services that it would provide. The office of president is and always has been a uniquely commercial office, not a head of state. Okay? Because the federal government services company is privately owned and operated, only shareholders known as electors have a real say in its elections and administration. Only trustees, known as members of Congress, have the right to determine how the national trust assets are protected, though they are obligated as trustees to do a reasonable job of it, and only the states have the right to complain if the stipulated services aren't up to par. Okay? When they talking about the states, they talking about the states up under the Constitution for the United States of America, who formed what they describe here as, where is that at? A single governmental services agency, okay, known as the United States. Okay? So at all times when you contracting, you got to know who you contracting with. And you got to know who you are, what you represent, to determine the rights or privileges that you're going to be able to exert or benefit from. Okay? Because the federal government services company is privately owned and operated, only shareholders own it. I read that right. Boom. Okay. The American people at large, known simply as inhabitants of the domestic states or state citizens, have always been a separate and distinct population apart from U.S. citizens, U.S. in capital letters, or federal citizens. And to these two groups, a third kind of citizen was added in 1871, that of U.S. citizen. Okay? Now, the first U.S. citizen is in all capital letters, the U, the S, and then the C is capitalized, and the rest is lowercase. But the new citizen that they created, the third kind, in 1871, is U.S. capitalized, and the C and the rest of the letters are lowercase. Okay? See, y'all don't pay attention to that. And that's how they've been able to trick you. You know what I'm saying? See, when you know what's going on, it's because you pay attention to what's going on. You know what I'm saying? Because through paying attention, your eyes open because you'll start to see. Nothing passes you because you start to become so learned to where it has been revealed to you and you can identify, hold up, that's a distinction. You know what I'm saying? There's a difference, you know. And you're listening to what's being said, or you're reading every word and understanding how it's been applied. Okay? All right. Let's continue. Following the Civil War, the Governmental Services Company provided the services agreed to by the states, reorganized as a corporation, DBA, the United States of America Incorporated. The U capitalized, the S capitalized, and it's of America, and the A capitalized, Incorporated. Okay, so again, they said following the Civil War, the Governmental Services, the United States, not the states, up under the Constitution for the United States of America, but the company that they created called the United States. The United States, following the Civil War, agreed to the states reorganized as a corporation doing business upon the United States of America Incorporated, and published its articles as the Constitution of the United States of America. So, see, they just mimic the original states operating up under the Constitution for the United States of America when they created here Constitution of the United States of America. You see what I'm saying? It's like you got big brother and you got little brother. You know what I'm saying? So to speak. Okay. And that's a change. That's a change that further really puts you deeper into the matrix. Because the deeper they go and the more they create, which they present you with the last resort, but you have no knowledge of all these other things, you know, they hide the truth from you that way. Okay? Because you're not educated, and not too many people going to go back and read. You know what I'm saying? Why am I able to read like that? I was in the penitentiary. That's all I was able to do. You know what I'm saying? Is read. I had the opportunity to read. I had the opportunity to learn. You know? So I got a habit of reading now. And I'm telling y'all, when y'all begin to read, a whole new world opens up to you. Life becomes different. It becomes better. It becomes clearer. You know what I'm saying? You're allowed to mature. You don't act like a child no more. You don't act immature. You know what I'm saying? You actually are able to grow up. Okay? Because you're maturing in your behavior. You're not stuck. You're not arrested. Your development is not arrested, so you can continue to grow like everything in nature does. It grows, it evolves, it improves. But people find such comfortability in being stagnated. There's no life in being stagnated. Everything living evolves. So if you're not evolving, you're slowly but surely dying. First within yourself, and then physically, because you're going to get ill because your thoughts is negative. Your thoughts are unproductive. Let me continue. Okay, we up here. It says, unlike the Constitution for the United States of America, the Constitution of the United States of America is a document peculiar to the new municipal, that is city-state government formed to administer the affairs of the District of Columbia and federal territories and possessions. Okay? So here they explaining that, showing that distinction that I just showed y'all, but also adding that this United States of is a document particular to a new municipal, create a whole new different entity. That is a city-state government. Okay? So they building a structure, and up under this structure, they're going to put you as a citizen. When technically, up under the original Constitution for the United States of America, all men are created equal and free. Okay? But how can you exercise that right as if somebody has took and altered the original and created their own, and then made you citizen to that. And like in between, you don't know nothing that's been transpired. So how is it that you were so easily able, or how we were so easily able to trust and assume that a people that presents themselves as government is actually government? When it plainly states in the Constitution, we the people are the power. The one that's being governed. It's up to them. They have the real power. But if they have the real power, and you know this because you read this, why aren't you exerting your power? Especially if you have a situation in your community, why aren't you doing anything about it when you know you got the power? It's because we truly don't know, do we? No, we don't. And we'll never know until we sit and learn. See, we got a problem with sitting back and waiting for somebody else to do something for us, or to give us permission to do something, or even to give us right to even have a say so. You know, that's the reason why when we experience injustice, we resort into doing something that allows us to blow some smoke, like marching. You know what I'm saying? Something that make you feel good. You know what I'm saying? But is it making a change? No, it ain't never made a change. But you keep on the march. You know? Because you're really scared. Yeah, you're scared. Y'all scared to die. That's what y'all afraid of when y'all speak, when it comes to speaking against injustice. You're afraid to die. You're afraid you're going to get killed. Which, in a sense, you would think that it's natural to be afraid. But no. That's a lie and an illusion. Why would you be afraid of another man who can do... I ain't saying it right. How can you be afraid of another man who can do no more to you than what you can do to them? You see what I'm saying? I mean, just think about that concept right there. That perception. Why would you be afraid of someone doing something to you that you can do to them? In other words, you have the power to not only prevent somebody from violating you, you know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times when you know the law and you speak the law, it'll put whoever's attempting to violate you, it'll stop them in their boots. Because they assume that you was stupid, that you was deaf, dumb, and blind, and they can just take advantage of you. But when you start speaking a certain kind of way, they're like, uh-oh, I better not do that. You see what I'm saying? You know, and depending on what level of knowledge you have, it would determine, you know what I'm saying, how fast they'll get away from you. And sometimes you don't got to say nothing. It's just about who you are and who you know that you are. Okay? So let me continue. It says this corporate constitution provided for the creation of a new kind of federal citizen, a U.S. citizen. U.S. capitalized, citizen lowercase. Okay? But when they talk about the federal citizen right before that, it's federal, the F capital, lowercase, the rest of the letters, and citizens capital, and the rest lowercase. See, what they trying to tell you here, family, and trying to show you, and what you got to understand, there's a difference in being a federal citizen and being a state citizen. You probably assumed that they was the same. No, they not the same. They different. And this color thing that they've been really putting out front, making you think that it's what it's all about. Because you got some people that the same tone or complexion that you are, and they highly respected. They live lavishly. They live well. Hold on for a minute. And if it didn't already say, they highly respected. Why? Because they have power. Where their power come from? The knowledge they possess. You see what I'm saying? The knowledge. Knowledge is power. So you can't be black and have power. And you should already know that. You know. So you should already be able to affirm that that statement is true. But what you don't know, you know what I'm saying, is the reason why you don't have the power that I'm describing right now. But if you learn, if you open your mind up and figure out what it is that I'm saying, then you can gain some power and be respected too. Because it ain't nothing like being able to stand up for yourself and win. Yeah, I know y'all feel that one. Ain't nothing like standing up, you know what I'm saying, speaking on what you know, or exerting yourself in a manner where the result is you are respected. They don't violate you. They don't disrespect you. So, I'm going to read this again. This corporate constitution. Corporate. Key word right there. We ain't talking government. We're not talking the Constitution for the United States of America. You know what I'm saying? Which are the people, okay, consisting of the several states, okay, who came together and created the United States, which is a company, or let's see how, no, it's yes, a company, governmental services company, okay, according to this material. They turned around and created the United States of America Incorporated. I share with you all the time that the United States is a corporation, okay? And in that corporation, they created a municipal city-state government where you up under the illusion that it's real government. But this is somebody that has created, in addition Because it's the thing. When someone give you power, okay, or if you come into some power, what's the first thing you're going to do? You're going to create something, you're going to hire people, and you're going to put in work, and you're going to pay them well. At least that's the natural thing to do, okay? Pay them well. But you got some greedy people that when they got this power and they think what they can do, and what they end up doing is what we've been experiencing in our lives, you know what I'm saying, for so many generations. Taxes, 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 taxes. That's all I got to say. Okay? Taxes. You know, but there's more. But I'm telling y'all what has transpired. Let me finish. Let me go on. Okay? This corporate constitution provided for the creation of a new kind of federal citizen, a U.S. citizen, and from that point onward, from the perspective of the new federal municipal government formed by the Act of 1871, the American state citizen, which is first letter capitalized, which they abbreviate in parentheses or brackets, the inhabitants of the domestic 50 states were regarded as non-resident aliens. I told you they created something, and then they created rules and regulations, and they categorized you. They gave you a title, or they gave you a name, or they put you in a box. You know what I'm saying? A box that best fits their agenda. Okay? Let me continue. This same corporation, DBA, the United States of America, all first letters capitalized, incorporated, chartered in Delaware, began operating two separate governments at once. The municipal government of the District of Columbia and the federal government owned to the states of the Union, both under auspices of the United States Congress. Okay? Now, to some extent, I understand a lot of this. Okay, some is a little bit over my head. As I continue to read, I'm dissecting it more and getting a greater understanding of it. Okay, so I'm going to speak on what I know. I can't speak on what I don't know. Okay, so these semantic deceits have given rise to endless confusion, usurpation, and criminality. These general civil orders address some of these issues which are most important at this time. The Congress ceased operating as it was required to contract to operate in 1860. Okay, what I'm seeing there that's being said, that at one point after the corporation was established, because they used to be up under original government, it's been said that they walked out of Congress, basically into the corporate United States of America. You know what I'm saying? So you ain't been up under what is considered, or what is, a de jure form of government, which is a Republican form of government, which the Constitution guarantees a Republican form of government. You know what I'm saying? I know when I say Republican, y'all go berserk. You know what I'm saying? Because you've been lied to about that too. So anything Republican, you reject. And that's why they created it that way. Because you're rejecting the very thing that your ancestors stood for. And you don't even know it. But that's what the devil do. The devil tricks you to where you go against yourself. You go against your own. You go against your power. You'll go against the very thing that'll save you. That's what he does. He flips everything around. It's the trick. That's the lie. The lie is the opposite of the truth. The truth is the opposite of a lie. But the thing is, you got to stop lying to yourself and thinking that the stuff that you actually discussing on a daily basis, that you keep hearing from this TV, these different stations, it's the truth. And you think that the things that they telling you going on is actually going on, and it's not. It's a lie. Malcolm X told y'all that anything they say, The opposite is the truth. So don't get caught up in their news. It's fake. It looked good. It's been deceiving us for a long time. And when the truth come out, because some of y'all done heard the truth and y'all rejected it because you think that's the lie. Because you've been believing in the lie all this time. And that's why you keep rejecting the truth about yourself. Because you're used to the lie that's been told to you. Let me read a little bit more. Okay. Where are we at? The federal government has functioned exclusively as an incorporated commercial entity with an elected board of directors merely calling itself the Congress ever since December 1865. Okay. As such, the federal government is a commercial corporation like any other commercial corporation. It has no special status, no immunity from prosecution, and hasn't functioned as a governing body of a sovereign nation for 150 years. That's how long they've been deceiving us. To overcome this obvious difficulty, the U.S. Congress, U.S. capitalized, the C capitalized in Congress, and the rest lowercase, formed another union of American states in all lowercase, from the federal territories and possessions. Federal territories was created with the United States. You know what I'm saying? It was created with the United States. So everything that you look up to as being government ain't government. It was created by someone else that was given authority and power to function for the people. So here it is. You're supposed to be a part of we the people that dictates what the United States does, because the United States work for the people. But here it is. The United States has created city-state government agencies, got you to be a citizen up under them, abide by their authority. You know what I'm saying? When the whole time, your authority comes as the boss, not the underling, the subject. You see the difference? But you got to read and you got to come into this knowledge to know how you've been tricked, or the devil going to keep on kicking you in your ass. Hold on. All right. So it comes a time when someone shares information with you that makes you think, that's pointing out different things that's been going on, and you know you already been experiencing what you've been experiencing. It's be wise to look into it to see if it has any merit, you know. But just because you start the research and certain things go against it, don't mean that those are lies too. You still got to be able to figure out and distinguish the difference between a lie and the truth. But mostly what you want to do, you want to connect with the people like myself who are independent researchers and who have been through some things and been around, meaning outside Kentucky, you know what I'm saying, and have experienced some things and obtained knowledge from different locations and tapped into other resources from other countries, you know what I'm saying, knowledge coming through there, you know, because the lie and the trick is usually in the inner circle, you know what I'm saying. That's why they say think outside the box. Because if you keep thinking in the box, that you've been programmed in, you'll never be free from the lie. You know? So you got to step outside yourself and look back in to see yourself clearly. Because a lot of things we do, we don't realize that we do it until somebody put us up on it. Okay? So let me continue. As such, the federal government is a commercial corporation like any other corporate. Okay, 150 years. To overcome this obvious difficulty, the U.S. Congress formed another union of the American states from the federal territories and possessions. The 7 insular states, including the state of New Columbia, District of Columbia, Guam, Puerto Rico, America, Samoa, etc., and formed a new nation simply calling themselves the United States of America and claimed separate national sovereignty. You know what I'm saying? It's the same way Daddy got a truck. Daddy got a big truck. I like riding in Daddy's big truck. Okay? But I'm a little boy. I can't drive Daddy's big truck. So Daddy give me a miniature truck. You know what I'm saying? And I take my truck and I try to imitate what Daddy do with his big truck. But really, I'm faking, right? You know what I'm saying? My truck ain't even real. I can't even put real gas in my truck. You see what I'm saying? So this is what they done. You know what I'm saying? They was given some power, and they went and created their own, and they used it to trick the people. You know what I'm saying? I know that it's been difficult, even through my journey. I ran into people that was in the same condition and situation I was in. And while I'm freeing my mind, they still trapped in their mind. So when I shared information with them, it was hard for them to grasp that their government was wicked. You see what I'm saying? That the people they trust was their enemy. I mean, it's a hard pill to swallow. You know what I'm saying? And trust me, I know because I didn't swallow some hard pills. Okay? I'm talking about, man, because my spirit told me, man, there's something about this, and I held on to it. And I kept digging before you know it, just like Mel Gibson in Conspiracy Theories. All them books he had, he was well read. If you got a person that's well read, you're supposed to listen to them. Because if you listen to somebody that ain't never read a book, then that's blind leading the blind. Only those who's well read know anything and can substantiate it. You know, at least send you to a few sources, you know, where they got the information from. But the average Joe from the street just expressing their opinion based on what the news said, you know, and ain't never read no book, but you will believe them quicker. You know why you believe them quicker? Because they're on the same level as you. You know what I'm saying? That's why they say the blind leading the blind. A blind person gonna easily follow another blind person. You know what I'm saying? Because y'all feel comfortable with each other. It's the person that got the information y'all don't listen to. See how backwards our people is? We was programmed that way. You living a lie. You got to be backwards. Because anybody that come with the truth, you're going to be in conflict with. You know? Like I said, this ain't for everybody. It's just for a few. You know? The chosen. You know? The people that want to be free. The people that want to live a better life. The people that really want to come up out of her like the scripture says. Because they want to be obedient to scriptures. They want to be obedient to the Most High Mother and Father. They want to be obedient to their Creator. You know? And they want to set a better example for their children. Because they don't want their children going through what they went through. Or anything like it. Okay? And that's the reason why soon or eventually, you know what I'm saying, I'm going to create me a whole new family. Now some babies. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to raise them with knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. You know, they're going to be powerful than me. You know? Yeah. That's part of what my life going to be. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the dream, to be a father over some gifted children with multiple talents because you raised them like that. Oh my! See, look. Let me share with y'all my dream, because I studied Jesus when I was in the joint, from the biblical, from the Quran, from the Moorish, from every book that I can get a hold of that talked about Jesus. I read it, and I was amazed by what I learned. But one of the main things that really got me was the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. You know, how he broke down about giving birth to a God. Okay? Now, I tied that with them saying Jesus was God. So if Jesus is God, and here it is, my brother over here talking about giving birth to a God, it's like giving birth to Jesus, because the significance with Jesus and what made Jesus so great, at least the personality of Jesus, or let's say I'm gonna leave it at that, the personality of Jesus, because there was no J in the alphabet in the Hebrew language. Okay, so it was Yahshua. You know what I'm saying? You know, it's another deception. They told y'all was power in the name, and they led y'all to believe that that name was Jesus. To your own scripture, that's a lie. It don't make your book a lie. It makes whoever's interpreting your book a lie. That's why you got to be careful who your preacher is. And you got to make sure he's demonstrating that truth. You know what I'm saying? That's why you got to study along with him. So if he mess up, you can stand up and help him get right. That ain't what it say, preacher. It says this. Thank you, Mother Jones. You see what I'm saying? Or Brother Jones. You know, yeah, we got to keep each other in check. You don't let nobody just go off and lead you down the wrong path like we've been doing. You know. But I didn't get off explaining to me examples. We don't want to be misled, so it's important to do your research, do your study. But I was talking about what Scripture was saying about Jesus. Yeah, I was sharing the story about Jesus. And I come to learn when I studied about Jesus' mother and Jesus' mother's mother. Okay, Jesus' mama is Mary, Jesus' mama's mama is Elizabeth. Okay? If I'm recall correctly. But what I've learned is that Mary's mama, before she was born, asked the Most High to bless her seed, but not just her seed, but her seed and her seed, which was Yahshua. Okay? What we call Jesus. Okay? Or misled to believe was Jesus. Okay? So, in order for you to bless your seed, you have to serve the Most High Mother and Father. You got to give your life over. You know what I'm saying? You got to be born again. Okay? Because you got to set the example to your seed. And then your seed got to set the example to their seed. And that's what happened. Mary, when she was raised, Mary wasn't exposed to the outside world. In other words, Mary could come out and play with the project kids. You know what I'm saying? Mary was in the church, learning, being disciplined, you know what I'm saying, being raised properly, you know what I'm saying, protected from the outside world, protected from the evil influences and behaviors, you know what I'm saying? So, that's why every time Lot came in to check on her, she was cool. She already been fed spiritually. You know what I'm saying? Because she's by her father's work. So, as dedicated as she was when she had a child, which is Yahshua, he was just as tight as she was. Just as in tune, you know what I'm saying? Just as knowledgeable, you know what I'm saying? Had the wisdom, you know, and understanding. You know, so if I want some gifted children, you know, I have to submit my will to the Most High. I have to be obedient. I have to set the best example. Okay? And that's what I want to do. because I only have one child. And she's already grown. You know what I'm saying? Can't raise her. She won't allow me to. You know what I'm saying? Because she thinks she's too old. You know? My brothers and sisters ain't too old where we can share knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Communicate it to the ignorant for their instructions, and communicate it to the wise for their own improvement. Okay? But that's cool. I'm going to create me some more children. And I'm going to raise them. I'm going to be there for them. I'm going to raise my grandbabies. You know what I'm saying? And influence my daughter in whatever way she allows me to. You see what I'm saying? You know? But I want some more children because they ain't going to have a choice, because they're going to accept my love naturally. You know what I'm saying? Because it's what they are born into. And they're going to be raised in such a manner to where they're going to be greater than me. You know? And you can do the same thing, fam. But that was just my perception of Jesus as I studied Jesus, how he was so gifted. Because I would always wonder, well, what if I was raised that way? You know what I'm saying? What if I was taught all the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that I have today back then? One, I wouldn't have had to go through what I went through. And two, you know what I'm saying? I'll be in a better position, way better position today than I am now. Not saying I don't like my position. I'm just saying if I was raised in a manner that Jesus was raised, if my parents was as gifted as Yahshua's parents was, you know, Joseph and Mary, you know, if those are the actual terms. It can't be, because Joseph wasn't no J. So I never learned what Joseph's name was in Hebrew. Damn, I got to check into that. And Mary. You know, if her name was Mary. I know her name wasn't Mary. It was a similar name, but it was another name. And it could have been Isis, if I'm not mistaken. If I heard that somewhere before. But, and that's another thing. It's so much studying that I want to do that I'm not able to do because I'm preoccupied with create other things. You know, I want to free up all that I'm doing now, get that done, so I can start. Man, you know, the last time I really felt comfortable sitting back and reading a book. And I got the opportunity every night. But I choose to relax in other ways. You know, with some ways is me continuing to study and being enlightened and get some more knowledge. You know. But I got to ease up and get back to doing what I started out doing, that I love doing, that got me to where I'm at. Not saying what I'm doing is wrong, you know. It's just I'm in other areas, you know. But I wrestle with that. That's just something I wrestle with. Okay, but back to Jesus, about this Jesus, or this Yahshua, I pronounced that wrong, didn't I? It's Yahshua, not Yahshua. Yahshua is the Most High. Yahshua is the real name of Jesus, Hebrew name of Jesus. Okay. And it's a beautiful thing. And if he set the example, the perfect example that we're supposed to follow, then as a parent, you know, I'm supposed to follow the parents' example, because that's how he came about. If it weren't for his parents, he wouldn't have been able to do what he did. You know, in other words, we talked about that blood the other day running through our veins. You know, about daddy don't have to be in our life. We're still going to act like daddy. You know what I'm saying? Jesus was able to act in a manner, in the likeness of his mama, because they are his creator. Think about what they said in the beginning. Man was created in the image and likeness of the Most High. Okay? That means our parents are our gods and goddesses that brought us into this world, that created us. But we ain't taught it that way. We taught it in a way to where they got us worshiping spookism, which that's all a lie. But it's on you to discover the truth within the lie that's being told, like I did, by studying more and focus more on what the Most High is trying to tell you versus what that preacher keep putting in your head. Because that preacher was taught by this system, the very same system that oppressed us. And that's something else you got to think about. Why have we been functioning in this manner when these same mentality of people who enslaved my ancestors, you know what I'm saying? And now claiming rulership or authority over, come on, man. Ain't no way you got the truth and you ain't been set free from that. Ain't no way. Let me continue. Thus, we have the United States of America major. They scribbling it this way. It's going to be a major and a minor. Okay? So this United States of America major is the same as the Constitution for the United States of America. Okay? Comprised, they're going to tell you which one it is. Comprised of the now 50 organic states created by statehood compacts and the United States of America minor representing the 7 insular states, both being now, let me say, no, the major is not connected, which, see, I'm still learning, because sometimes I get thrown off. But dismiss what I said, and we're just going to go off what this is saying, because it's saying here, both being administered under the direction of the corporate board of directors known as the U.S. Congress, which has continued to act solely as the sovereign government of the United States of America minor. See, I got the understanding, but that's why you got to be careful with your information come from different sources, okay? Because one source of information will say this, and this source of information will say this, but they'll say it in a different way, and you can get confused because they don't speak the same dialect or language, okay? So you got to connect them accurately, and like right now I'm not able to make the connection, so I gotta back up and be safe, or I gotta express it to you so you won't be misled, okay? And that's why you gotta do your own research and not just go off of what other people say, but consider what people say. But you have to make the last decision based on your own research. So you got to be accountable for you by reading and researching and analyzing and figuring it out. You know what I'm saying? What everybody's saying. Okay? Because you got to know the truth too. Okay? Alright. Where I'll leave off at? Yeah. I read that. Which has continued to act solely as the sovereign government of the United States of America minor. Okay. These blatant Semitic deceits by officers of the federal corporation and officials of the United States of America minor amounts to purposeful constructive fraud against their employers, the American organic states. Okay. So, in other words, they agreed to do a certain thing when they was given the power, which they took and created the United States. But they had evil intent. They had ulterior motives, like most of the people you deal with on a daily basis. You can't trust nobody nowadays for the most part. Everybody got ulterior motive. Hold on. Not everybody, but a lot of people got ulterior motives, okay? And you got to be careful who you trust, because people will mislead you. But think about it. And some of us, we do learn. And some of us, it only take 1 or 2 times, and we ain't gonna go through that no more. Okay, where other people, it's like you keep putting yourself in the same situation over and over again, and allowing people to lie to you, allow people to just say anything to you, and you believe just anything anybody say, and at the end of the day, you end up getting hurt. You know what I'm saying? You gotta stop treating yourself this way. You gotta learn to love yourself. You know what I'm saying? And through learning to love yourself, you'll start to give yourself the truth. You'll start to allow yourself to be at peace. And you'll allow yourself to be free from anything that's harmful to you. Okay? And when you're able to do that, man, the Most High gonna give you your justice, gonna give you your reward. You know? Because you decided to not allow people to do to you that's not beneficial to you. You know what I'm saying? But that's your choice, fam. You got to make that decision. You got to come to grips and control of your life in order to direct it in the right way. And law governs all events. What do you know about law? If you know nothing about law, it would be wise for you to start to learn. Because everything is based on law. It's not about your opinion and your feelings when you hear something that's going on. If you know the truth, then you can hold a lot of people or everybody accountable. But when you don't know the truth, who you going to hold accountable? What changes are you going to be able to make? None. But if you know, you can make all the changes. Anything go wrong, all it takes for you to say something and the change is going to be made. But that's based on you having knowledge, because if you got knowledge, you got what? You got power. It's right there, fam. It just so happened I'm experiencing it. You see what I'm saying? You know, that, but you have to believe. You got to start out believing, and you got to be tested. Your faith has to be put to the test. And through being put to the test, you're going to pass every time. Why? Because the Most High going to make sure you're able to see truth from falsehood. The Most High going to make sure that you're going to be courageous to be able to keep people at bay and be able to stand up for yourself and not tolerate the things that people want to do to you and want to treat you any kind of way. But if you keep tolerating, the Most High can't protect you, because you're not protecting yourself by being obedient to Him and serving Him, which is going to keep everybody off your back. But if your teachings ain't bringing about those results, those benefits, you got to question your teachings. And maybe not your teachings more so, but your perception of them. You may be looking at it wrong. You might be believing the book wrong, because it is a spiritual book. Although it's physical too, it has to come in the physical in order for you to read it and tap into the mental. It means you got to lift your thoughts. You just can't read the book and accept everything literal. It's metaphorical. It's allegorical. But they don't teach all that in the church either. I ain't never learned it. You know what I'm saying? What made it difficult for me to communicate with my Christian brothers, okay, and help free their minds as I was freeing my minds, and people around me was freeing their minds. Because when you got one that's trying to think outside the box, and then you got another one, and you got another one, the more you got, and they dialoguing, y'all coming up out of that box. Y'all not going to be in that box long. But like crabs in a bucket, you got people in the box, in the bucket, that's going to be pulling you. You know what I'm saying? Energetically, literally. You know what I'm saying? Because some people, let's say, you mentioned to your girlfriend or your partner that you going to go to college. And they, are you going to leave me like that? Oh, man, that's wrong, man. Selfish. Worrying about them being left alone. Why didn't they think, well, I'm going to go with you. I'm going to sign up too. What school you going to? I'm going to go to the same school you go to. You see what I'm saying? That's a true friend. When they're going to ride with you doing something positive or advancement. Same way we open up a business. Man, I open up business. Don't hate and be like, no, then you open up and we ain't gonna hang out no more. You know, you're gonna be calling about busy and everything. Instead of saying, oh, well, let me get in with you. Either if you don't got the money to put half up, have them hire you. And you do the job. You know what I'm saying? Have them teach you how to do something so y'all can stay together. That's what true friend. You support people in advancing and moving forward. You never do anything to hold a person back, because that's not love. That's hate. And for some reason, a lot of us are used to hating. And a lot of y'all don't know y'all hating. That's why you gotta listen and learn and realize where you hating at and stop hating. Let me read some more. Where did I stop at? Right there. It says, to try to overcome this obstacle, members of the U.S. Congress contrived a complex regulatory scheme by which they established their own state governments and have tried to claim that they have been at war with the American people while relying upon the organic states for their own sustenance, and have falsely claimed that they established exclusive legislative jurisdiction over the original states of the Union by these acts of self-interested fraud carried out against their employees and benefactors. In other words, let me paint this picture for you. Daddy got a big truck. Okay? So Daddy give me a miniature truck. Okay, like I said, mine don't got no gas in it. Okay, but Daddy got a company too. Okay, so now I want Daddy to create me a company. You know what I'm saying? So Daddy create me a fake company where I got some paperwork. It ain't real. They ain't got notarized or nothing. But I take these paper and I take all my friends. You know what I'm saying? And like my daddy, say my daddy's the governor. And my daddy got a boy, he got Secretary of State, he got Attorney General. So I turn around and I make my friends my Attorney General and Secretary of State, and I run, you know what I'm saying, my crew, like my daddy run his crew up in Congress. You see what I'm saying? And that's what they did. But with me, I wasn't like my daddy. Okay? My daddy was a good, upstanding, loyal, you know what I'm saying, so forth. But I had evil intent. I wanted some money. I was greedy, so to speak. Okay? And when my daddy paid his employees, he gave them what they deserved. I only gave mine a little bit. You know what I'm saying? You know, I'm a little smarter than them, even though they just still teenagers, so to speak. Let's say we teenagers. You know, but I'm outthinking them because I'm cunning. I got a wicked nature. Okay? And that's what occurred. You know, and my friends thinking that I'm true because I'm looking out. Yeah, I'm looking out, but I'm also splitting your head. And that's what happened to us as a people. We got a head split. Because we allowed them to dumb us down. We allowed them to so-called educate us. And they gave us the wrong information, not the right information for us to advance on a wide scale. Because back in the day, we was advancing when we didn't mingle in their system. When we had what we call Black Wall Street. Okay? We was flourishing, you know, in several states. And here come the hate. Come the haters. You know what I'm saying? And that's the key. We need to get back to that. Some of y'all know about that. So if we not demonstrating that today, ain't that a negative? Ain't that a fall from where we once was, our ancestors once had? And why ain't we got back or even moved farther? It's got to be fair, fam. It's got to be fair. You got to face your fears. You got to overcome them, or you'll never have nothing. Nothing. See, it's about reality. You know what I'm saying? You got to face that reality. You got to face that truth to overcome the lie, the falsehood, the shame, the fear. Because you never admit that you're afraid, you're going to continue to be afraid. But if you're man enough to admit your weaknesses, your shortcomings, you'll overcome them. this is a little bit longer, and I ain't gonna hold y'all up. I'll probably read some more again another time. But as I was reading, that's the reason why I elaborated more, because this is some deep material for real. You know, it's really deep. But I'm pretty sure somebody out there was able to relate as I was reading and know what I'm talking about, and probably even learn a little bit more than what they knew before. Okay? And also I meant to copy this and put it to make it available too. But I'm going to do this. If one want it, ask for it. You ask for it, I'm going to send it to you. And you can read it for yourself. You know what I'm saying? You know. And it'd be good to know that somebody out there is seeking knowledge and really trying to change their conditions. You know, that man, that warm my heart. You know, it really would. You know, to see somebody else fighting, see somebody else got courage. I keep hearing something, I don't know. See somebody else got courage and standing up. See, that's the reason why when I post other people's posts, I posted a TikTok video today. It was of a sister that exposed Dollar General. You know what I'm saying? Because they fired her. Because she was honest with a customer and told them that a product was cheaper somewhere else. Okay? I had to post that because she took a stance. She took a stance. You know? And because they was unjust to her, even though she didn't understand the policy, all they had to do was tell her not to do that no more. It's illegal. You can't do that. And if you agree not to do that no more, you can continue to work. You know what I'm saying? But we don't. If you're going to work for us, we need you to encourage the customer to purchase the product, not discourage them by sending them somewhere else. But see, the ethics of business they have that we are obligated to uphold, but in reality, it's not right. Because morally, if I can save you money by going somewhere else, that's where you're supposed to go. That's what I'm supposed to tell you. Morally, but business, we got to act a certain way. Because of the policies, I got to tell you this. Even deep down, I know it ain't right. See, this is the state of mind that they got us in. This is how they got us thinking, going against our God, going against our conscience, going against what's morally right, because they wicked and greedy. They wicked and greedy. And they've been like it all your life. You've been witnesses of it. But we've been taught to turn a blind eye. You know what I'm saying? As if we're weak. And we're not weak. It's just that great grandma, or during that time, or great grandma didn't want these people who claim authority over us to whip her son, her newborn son, or a 6-year-old child. So she had to lie to the child. She had to teach the child to submit, to bow down, to be afraid of, to look at these people as superior when they wasn't. It's a lie. The whole time you were superior. You was the greatest. You was the holy one. You was the chosen. And they suppressed that to keep you down. Because you know if you get certain opportunities that you can be the best you can be. But you don't really know what's holding you down, what's been keeping you from coming out being the superhero that you are. And you ain't had the courage to face it. Like in The Wizard of Oz, I'm giving y'all a brief breakdown. Dorothy ran into 3 characters. The Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Lion. The Scarecrow, you remember he wanted a brain. Because he didn't have a brain. And remember the song he sang? He said, if I only had a brain, I unsolved every riddle for every individual who was in trouble and in pain. Which is what I'm doing. Because I obtained a brain. I understand the significance of a brain and the importance of being able to think. You can't think without knowledge. So that's the reason why I flooded. I read so much. Because I want to help those who were suffering and in pain. Okay? So, first character needed a brain. The second character that Dorothy ran into, the Tin Man, needed a heart. Okay? He didn't have a heart. He represent the tax identification number, Tin Man. Okay? It's right there in your face. They give you the knowledge, they give you the science. He represented the so-called government. He wanted a heart so he showed compassion toward the people, because corporations don't have a heart. That's why they gave him rights of a person. You know what I'm saying? In law or in the legal system. You know? So the Tin Man, he wanted to show compassion toward the people because the system was heartless. And he wanted a heart. Okay? So you got to have a heart to show compassion. And when you show compassion, you're not as hard on the people. You're going to be like that sister they got from Dollar Tree. When somebody come here and go and buy something and it's cheaper somewhere else, that's what she's going to tell them. She's not going to be heartless like the system and abide by the policy rules and all that. Because I stand on principles. I have a God. I haven't sold my soul. Now I'm not going to sell my soul for this company. You know what I'm saying? I'm here for a paycheck and that's it. You know, but you got to do it discreetly. Can't do it out in the open because they're going to fire you like they fired her. You know, the third character was the Cowardly Lion. He lost his courage. He used to be king of the jungle. Does it remind you of anything? We should be kings and queens. And I say that like that because you lost memory of that. You lost the drive of a king, being a descendant of a king. You lost the drive of being descendant of a queen because you don't aspire to be a king or a queen. And there's something wrong with that, fam. Something wrong with that. We got to get that fire back. We got to get that spark back. You know what I'm saying? And the symbolism behind the Wizard of Oz was these three characters was symbolic to the three levels of man, particularly Dorothy in the movie, that she needed to face the wizard. She needed a brain, she needed to be able to think, because the wizard, he's sharp. You just can't go to the wizard crying and begging. You ain't gonna get nothing. You got to know what you're talking about. So she needed a brain and she needed a heart to have sympathy for the wickedness that this wizard possessed. You know what I'm saying? But she won't turn into him, you know, angrily, with frustration, you know, keep a stable mind, okay? And she needed courage, okay? Because the faint at heart, the weak at heart, you're not going to be able to face that wizard. The same way when they got there and that machine blew that fire, they shook up, you know, but then they had to bounce back. Hold up, we got to have courage. We got to face this. You know what I'm saying? So it's important that you have a brain, you have a heart, and you have courage when you stand up for yourself. You know what I'm saying? Because we won't tear nothing up. And sometimes people make you want to tear them up. You know? So fam, the truth is right there. When you watch these movies, understand the plot and the meaning behind them. You know what I'm saying? Because the same way the devil is working, God working too. You know? And in and everything with this life, you can see the devil in it and you can see God in it. Because there's a duality to everything. And you need to learn how to distinguish between truth and falsehood in everything. When you become knowledgeable of that, then you start to see again. You know, it's going to end up in the schools. It's going to end up certain curriculum. The school curriculum is about to change. You know, that's why Trump passed that to where you can homeschool your children or send them to whatever private school you want to send them to. You know what I'm saying? I don't know all the stimulations. I only heard part because I don't get into all that. You know what I'm saying? My news is the Most High. You know, and whatever the Most High want me to know, He'll send somebody to tell me. You know, I don't get caught up in watching no devils lie to me. You see what I'm saying? I don't like to be lied to. Okay? I like the truth. So I surround myself and I indulge in things that I can get the truth from. You know what I'm saying? Because I know where to get my truth from. I got a lot of practice. You know what I'm saying? And it has built me up greatly. Okay? And that's why I got so much to share with y'all. Peace and love, family. I pray and hope that my knowledge, wisdom, and understanding was enlightening, encouraging, and motivating to you in some form or fashion. Because we got to wake up. Got to wake the mind up. Don't fall back to sleep. Don't go back to believing in the lie. You know what I'm saying? And don't be afraid to die. You got to die one day. And it's best to die a man than die a coward. Okay? Because whatever you're afraid of, you're subject to experiencing it anyway. So you might as well experience it as a man. Standing on your 2 feet. Instead of bowing down on your knees. Cowardly. You know? And that in itself can be a struggle, fam. I've been there. I've done it. I had a man up. You know? Used to be a coward. I was brought up a coward. You know what I'm saying? You know, I didn't have a man in my life to teach me to be a man, not a real man, you know. But throughout my journeys, I done ran into different degrees of men, you know. And I grabbed what I could from him. I grabbed from what I could from others. Because everywhere I go, whoever's spitting that knowledge, Islam, brother, assalamu alaikum, peace, you know, God bless, you know, whatever, you know, whatever greeting he greet, I'm greeting them in that language, in that manner, you know, because I want what you got, because I know something in you that's valuable. I want that. Ain't no pride. Shit, give me what belongs to me. God said you supposed to share that. Give it to me. I want some of that, you know. And a lot of people, I see it on their face, they be shocked that somebody that has so much hunger for knowledge, you know. But children are hungry for knowledge. Their brains are like sponges. Are we going to give them garbage, a lie, or are we going to start giving them the truth and let them grow up like Jesus grew up, like Yeshua grew up? The choice is yours. You in control. You the parent, so to speak, you know. Peace and love, fam. I can go all day, but it's other things I need to do and I want to do, and I want to get that done. Peace. Keep love on your mind, and y'all have a great rest of y'all Saturday.